This is Kathy from Gadgets Top 321, and in today's video I'm taking a look at 3 pens in my collection that have stub nibs that, considering my smaller handwriting, these are good options for me for everyday writing. I've got a Pilot 78G with a broad nib. Now, this isn't your typical broad nib. There's not any tipping on this, and it looks more like a stub nib. I have a Pilot Prera with a cursive medium nib and a Nemosine Singularity with a 0.6 stub nib. I'm going to do a writing sample with each of these, and then I'll show what these pens look like, what the nibs look like compared to each other. I'm going to start with the 78G. Now, this is the older model. This is not the 78G Plus. And you can see it just looks like a stub nib. This nib writes a little dry, you can see there, but it didn't skip, but it felt, I could feel the drag on the paper from there not being much ink. Now, this is a Pilot Prera with a cursive medium, and you notice it looks very similar to the broad nib from the 78G. This nib just writes a hair wetter than the 78G, you can see there. And I've noticed that with these 78Gs, the older models, I have a medium nib that writes a little drier than current medium nibs. It must have something to do with the feed. The feed in these older pens, I'm guessing, is a little bit drier. And finally, the Nemosine Singularity with the 0.6 stub nib. This nib writes quite a bit wetter than the first two. Now, the ink I'm using is Venta Inks Carlos. Well, this one wasn't too much wetter than the Prera. One of the differences is, I'll go ahead and show, let me see, maybe I should leave it zoomed in. I'll go ahead and show the shape of these nibs compared to each other. The Nemosine is a larger number 6 nib, and you can probably tell right here, the Nemosine is perfectly round at the end, and the two Pilots are more squared off. They are really close. I would probably call them more cursive italics. And I thought the 78G was going to be a more narrow nib, but these two are pretty much indistinguishable, other than the 78G writes a little bit drier. The line width that they put down is very similar. Let me compare these two if I can. Yeah, the line width looks pretty much the same. All right. Now, I'm currently looking for a pen to put one of my Nemosine nibs in. I've mentioned this before. This pen, I can't put the converter or a cartridge in it and write with it because the ink just dumps out. I have several pens that I use this nib in, like my Jinhao X750, but it's a little heavy. You know, I like using this, but I'm wanting to use this nib in my new traveler's notebook, and I want something a little bit lighter. I considered, and I'm still kind of going back and forth, I've thought about getting the Moonman M800, but even it is, you know, a little bit bulky. I really love these 78Gs, but they use a much smaller nib. You can't put a number 6 nib in there. So I have a Pen BBS 308. It's not the exact color that I want to use with my notebook, but I may give that a try, and if that pen size works, I could order a different color. Those are pretty affordable. The only thing is now ordering pens from overseas is just not very practical. This pen I just came in the mail the other day. I haven't even taken the sticker off of it. It took 3 months to get here, and I have one more pen on the way. It's the last of the pens that I'm probably going to get, the 78Gs. I have all nib sizes now except for the double broad, and I'm just not that excited about getting a broader nib than this. I prefer finer nibs, so I don't know. The part of me that wants to complete the collection wants to go ahead and get it, but I already have a 1.1 and a 1.5 stub nib that I do with my little ink writing tests, so I don't really need the double broad. And they're kind of dry writers, so I'm kind of talking myself out of getting that last nib size. But the main thing I'm wanting right now is a nice pen to use. I've got 2 of these 0.6 stub nibs, so that's what I'm on the lookout for right now. Oh well, if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.